This is an extremely scathing rebuke of the billionaire class in America and even the oligarchy that exists. Yo, it's Shiro, this is Shiro's TV, and welcome to Bookin' It. Now, we are going to do a unique installment, and today we're going to be talking about the 5 books that define the resistance as far as counterculture. And that means not necessarily anti-government as much as fighting back with civil disobedience, if you will. And in that sense, we will progress and explain each book. So, let's start with a classic by George Orwell, 1984. 1984 is an absolutely insanely impactful piece of literature that focuses on a fascist state consumed by censorship, by propaganda, and by indoctrination.
Annoying that I even have to ask, but you are down with fascist dystopias, right?
And it shows how it can infect the system from top to bottom, whether that's the people that are the workers in the system, their own children, the people at the top, every part of the system being corrupted, where knowledge is a threat to a system that is trying to maintain a specific order. And 1984 is systematic of that and really, really good at conveying a fascist state and the consequences of resistance, even if there is a moral dilemma in trying to decide, hey, should I focus more on self-preservation or avoiding moral depravity? And I think that's the struggle there in that book. Second book we're going to be talking about, Fahrenheit 451. This is by Ray Bradbury. Another book that is very focused on free speech, focused on censorship, focused on propaganda. And here we have a state where the firefighters are actually causing the fires and they are burning down any sort of literature that is left in the world because it has been demonized. And we see that even in today's society right now. We're just getting rid of books that people are saying are harmful that are not necessarily, and that is the case most of the time. But here we're taking this to the nth degree. We're taking it to its logical conclusion where knowledge is criminalized.
We have to destroy everything that's harmful to God.
And once you learn it in a society that has rejected knowledge, what do?
President Camacho stood before the world and promised everyone that Joe would solve all their problems.
I think that's one of the most profound questions you can ask, and it was asked in this book here, and we really grapple with that. And do we want to carry on with this knowledge, you know?
But it cast me out, banished me here, guiding others to a treasure I cannot possess.
Even if there is no one prepared to take on this knowledge now. Another book by George Orwell. As you can understand, Orwellian society is upon us. Animal Farm, the book you read in school.
Remove man, and we will become free and equal.
Free and equal.
Animal Farm is the perfect allegory for the system that American government has put us before. And in general, most governments that become authoritarian. And Animal Farm, specifically, if you need the Cliff Notes, is about a group of pigs that end up getting greedy and take over the farm and manipulate all the information on the farm and make everyone believe with statements that are not aligned with reality. And they're gaslighted into believing this reality, even though it is not true. And even though there are critical thinkers like the goat in this story.
Free and equal.
I thought I was free.
It does not change the flow or trajectory of the state that demands servitude, it demands fealty, it demands submission, ultimate obedience or ultimate punishment.
I think we should come at him with an iron fist and crush him into submission.
The fourth book I would like to talk about, I am about 3/4 of the way through the book. I have annotated the hell out of it. It is Dark Money by Jane Meyer. This is an extremely scathing rebuke of the billionaire class in America and even the oligarchy that exists in America.
It's basically a house of cards where it's at the bottom, do all the work, and give all the money to the smart guys up at the top.
And we can see a direct link as she draws this insanely elaborate and and sophisticated web of influence that billionaires utilize to launder their opinions that will ultimately help them further their ends, but make everyone else suffer in the process.
I guess you guys felt like it was okay to subject her to inhuman conditions because there was no chance of it ever hurting you. It's sort of the socio-political equivalent of, say, a suit of power armor around you.
And in doing so, there's a very interesting way that they use think tanks in order to forward messages that the public is not interested in.
He's just one of those liberal elites who spreads lies and hates patriots. You and I are both businessmen who work hard and pay taxes, except that I make 10,000 times what you make.
Yeah, we're the same, you and me.
And a lot of money, and when I mean a lot, I mean an ungodly sum of money, is being spent to keep people misinformed and keep people docile.
What did I tell you about rich guys?
Look, I know what you're thinking, but don't worry, it's all okay. Turns out you're the enemy. They're the ones who are on our side.
Oh, of course, an industrialist with oil refineries in this city is on your side. He wants to get rid of environmental regulations for you.
He doesn't get sarcasm.
And make sure that consent is manufactured for topics that do not benefit the people whatsoever.
We want the city government shut down.
Oh, I see. And all of you feel the same way?
Yes! No!
Yes!
As much as it benefits the corporation. And that brings me straight into the last book, the last of the 5 books here that I am mentioning here. And before we get to that, we are going to talk about an honorable mention, The Manchurian Candidate. I couldn't put it in here because it was more focused on, you know, espionage and the sleeper cell whole fiasco over there. And that is an important aspect of the CIA that we're involving here and stuff like that. And that's cool and all, but I think the really important focus to take away from The Manchurian Candidate as far as Inform of the Resistance, we need to look at the structure of the book and how throughout the entire campaign of Johnny Eastland in the book Manchurian Candidate, we see a forwarding of this idea that we are fighting communism, and in order to fight communism we have to become fascism. And that is the sense we get through the entire book. We see the entire lead through the presidential race and what gets you there, the hands you shake, the asses you kiss. I think it is perfectly conveyed through the entire book, even though it's sort of like the subplot of the actual narrative. That brings me back to the last book I'm mentioning. It is by Noam Chomsky, and it is Manufacturing Consent. This is a book that eloquently explains the ins and out of how corporations, mass media, and the government work in tandem in order to mislead and disinform the populace, all right? In order to seed ideas that are antithetical to the growth of society, but inherent to the growth of corporation and capital and exponential growth beyond grotesquerie. Even though I haven't read Noam Chomsky, I am almost absolutely certain of his efficacy and almost as certain of his credentials as I am of Norm Finkelstein's credentials.
With all due respect, you're such a fantastic moron. It's terrifying.
But as far as that goes, those are the 5 books that I believe define the resistance. If you have other recommendations, you can put them in the comments. I would love to check them out. These are just 5 that I picked. I'm not saying they're the 5 best ones. And I think at the end of the day, these 5 books are extremely insightful for people, whether they question the government or they want to ask critical questions and actually have critical thought. And I think this is instrumental to doing that, you know, as far as being one voice in a chorus, speaking out about the problems that exist in our society as much as the cracks in our infrastructure, metaphorically and physically. All right, it's been Shiro, Shiro's TV. I'll see you next time on Bookin' It. Peace.